In Keith's latest mock draft, Sonny Styles and Akheem Mesidor transformed the Dallas Cowboys defense.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst for Bleacher Report. That's Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Keith dropped a mock draft, and guys, since it is Combine Week, we wanted to go ahead and make sure we got that out for you guys and give you the favorite picks, the most interesting picks, and then our most underrated picks from his pre-Scouting Combine mock draft. Keith, I'm going to open it up with you. It's your mock draft, so you know what your favorite picks. When you look at, all 32 picks that you made, what pick was like, man, you just like, because we all do it. We just like, we make that pick like, I'm proud of that pick. I like that. What pick for you gave you that type of feeling? You know what? This is my favorite pick of my mock.
Okay, I'm going to do this. It's a situation. It's 2 picks and 1 team, right?
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys drafting Sonny Styles with pick number 12. And then coming back and drafting Akheem Mesidor, I believe, with pick 20. I like that situation for the Dallas Cowboys, and over the past few months, I have been a heavy get Malachi Fields in the first round guy, right? I'm still on board with that, and I still had him going in the first round. Surprisingly enough, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. I had him going to the Philadelphia Eagles, so a NFC East rival, in the first round. But looking at the Dallas Cowboys and what they need defensively, I think this is the hole they need. Sonny Styles, a versatile second-level defender. And like I talked about it, right? Like this guy, he's a former safety that moved to linebacker, that plays well against the run on the second level. And DP, I think he has pass rush upside. Like I do. I think he can rush off of the edges or be an effective blitzer, things like that. Yeah. And then you add Akheem Mesidor, who was a double-digit sack guy last year, 265, 275 pounds, big, strong, powerful guy. Yeah. We talked about it on this podcast. He's one of the 5 most natural pass rushers on his defense, but also he plays with attitude. So you drafted 2 attitude guys, 2 guys to change the culture of this defense as far as running to the football, things like that. I was like, you know what? The Dallas Cowboys came out good with this.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a hole because, with a Sonny Styles, knowing that you have to deal with Jackson Dart, who's a willing running quarterback and mobile quarterback. Is he just a guy that you have to spy? Not my opinion. He's not that dangerous of a runner, but it's the creativity with his legs. Like, hey, if things break down, I can get out the pocket, and then he becomes kind of an RPO on his own once he's out in space, and he makes that decision himself. Same Jalen Hurts dealing with the QB power, the QB design run game, but also if you're playing man and nobody's accounting for Jalen Hurts, he can get you 10, 15, 20, even 30 yards if nobody's in the proximity, right? And then, of course, the bad man himself, JD5, coming back healthy. We know he's the most dangerous running threat probably in the NFC, to be completely honest. If I think about just running quarterbacks or from an athleticism standpoint, because it's him, Lamar, Josh Allen. Yeah, I think JD5 is probably the most dangerous dude in terms of in the NFC. Like you let him break contain, this could go the entire distance, right? So having a Sonny Styles #1 allow you to spy those guys, but also stop the run and then drop back off into coverage, because that's where I think he's going to be able to butter his bread, is that safety background, dropping off into coverage in the deep middle and stuff like that, taking away dagger concepts and those seam routes to the tight ends. He's going to be able to help with that. But like you said, bringing some attitude. And then Akheem Mesidor, bringing in a guy that can come in and I keep saying it. Akheem Mesidor is not, if your team is nowhere near contending, do not draft him in round 1. Don't draft him at all. Honestly, if you are, hey, we're rebuilding, we probably going to be drafting the quarterback top 5 next year, don't select Akheem Mesidor. you're going to waste his prime. Like, let's leave it alone. But if you're a team that is in the position that, hey, with the right tweaks to this roster, we're in the playoffs, not even just in the playoffs, we can make the conference championship like Dallas. Yeah, like that. I like that. Adding Akheem Mesidor, because that makes a whole lot of sense for a team that's trying to get back to the postseason and make the noise that they know that they can make. Especially, you want to take as much advantage of Dak Prescott's prime as possible, especially if they are able to figure out that contract situation with the George Pickens. Getting the young, like, cost-efficient contracts on defense will help you out a ton. Especially, I think they just cut Logan Wilson, who they traded for. I think they cut him, this offseason, heading into the new league year. Keith, for me, we just talked about him. The what was that? Monday. Carnell Tate, number 8 to the New Orleans Saints. I love it. I love that. It's probably my favorite one. I think him with Chris Olave. Yep. That would be crazy. That would be 3 Ohio State wide receivers that have been drafted in recent years by the Saints, because you have Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and then they got Carnell Tate. And I know Saints fans will be, if they look at this mark, once they see the full mark, they'll be like, wait, Jeremiah Love went where? It was like, yeah, he went right after you at 9 to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I know that they have been just hell bent on getting Jeremiah Love. But, and don't get me wrong, I have Jeremiah Love graded higher than Tate, but Tate's ability and that size and the field stretching ability and the route running and just pairing that with what you have with Chris Olave, I think that makes so much sense. The ability to win one-on-one. Chris Olave is going to take the top off the defense. Juwan Johnson there, tight end. We'll see I don't know what's going to happen with the whole Taysom Hill thing, if he's still going to be there or not, and everything. You still can, round 2, you can draft a running back, or maybe if the Seahawks are really not going to bring back Kenneth Walker, maybe you go
kick the tires on that.
Yeah, kick the tires on it, right? And and you still got you got Mike Washington Jr. in on rounds 2 and 3 on day 2 of the draft that you can pair with Alvin Kamara, Darian Price. Like, you can find another running back in this class, and everything. But adding a Carnell Tate, and I'm all about helping Tyler Shough. Like, I'm all about that. Like, you know what I mean? I'm all about putting the pieces around him. We, like, again, for this young man. For me, I think, when I was that game of going into Carolina, like, I think they just came off a game where they beat either they beat the Rams or the Packers. And I was like, man, Carolina might be getting ready to gear up for a run and take over the NFC South. Tyler Shough walked into that mug, and I think he dropped like 300 yards and said, absolutely not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just went in there and dropped it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, he's out there just spinning it. And then he beat him at home too. And then I think he beat the Bucks and everything. I think the only team he didn't beat was the Falcons, right? So it's just like, this division could be a very competitive. Still will probably be the worst division in sport in the league next year, but it could be a very competitive division. You know what I mean? In terms of, we don't know who to pick. And I think for the Saints, strike while the iron is hot. You see what you have in Tyler Shough. Yeah, go ahead and strike. Get the weapons, get the pieces to put around them, and everything. I want to look at one more, Keith. And I will tell you right now, man, pick 13. If he's available and they dare go Mekhi Lemon or a freaking wide receiver, I might lose my mind. The Los Angeles Rams better take Mansour Delane or Jamont McCoy. They better take a cornerback. That cornerback room is the Achilles heel of this team.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
And it showed too. It showed against the Bears. Like, the
Bears, the Panthers twice. Yeah. Like, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, Terodoro McMillan. You have these. I'm a short guy, so I'm all about my short kings. But at some point, you need some size in your quarterback room. You didn't match it with these big boys at all. Jalen Coker cooked you both games. So I'm just like, you got to get a number 1 corner. Like, Kobe Durant should be in the slot, right? Emmanuel Forbes should be your 2-3. Like, I don't know. You need Mansour Delane would be that. If that happened, absolutely be one of my favorite picks, because that would give them a true number 1 corner that can go on the island, that can go man to man. And I trust in the lockdown guys that he should lock down and not get beat by guys he should lock down.
Yeah, look, and I'll say this, right, because this is a mock draft. The only other thing they should potentially do with one of those first round picks, if the top corner is not on the board, think about trading it and acquiring a corner, right? Like go trade and go get a corner from
I wouldn't be
somebody
mad
else.
at that at all. I would
Yeah,
not be
like
mad
do
at
what
that
you
at
did
all.
the first time around with Jalen Ramsey, right? Go ahead, send some picks to Jacksonville or wherever it may be. Go get you a top corner overall. But DP, let's do this, man. We talked favorite picks. Let's do the most interesting picks, right? Which picks make you turn your head to the side a little bit and say, that's interesting, right? Let's talk about that coming up next.
Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft, and that goes to grape. Guys, one of my favorite flavors of all time. Grape is a smash. It has a Concord grape flavor similar to grape juice or candy. A soft, rounded sweetness that's been added to the flavor. It's smooth, almost syrupy-like when you're talking about a fruit profile, and a consistent, straightforward taste with that classic purple candy style finish. How could you want to pass up on something this good? But with 5-hour energy shots, they give you a boost with zero sugar. And guys, I'm telling you right now, being able to get that type of energy with zero sugar is big. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Breaking down the most interesting picks from Keith's pre-NFL scouting combine mock draft. That's what we're getting into next. But thanks for being an everydayer with us. If you want the show ad-free, check out the Everydayer Club and go subscribe. Go to lockedonnfldraft.supercast.com. Most interesting picks, Keith. What's one of your most interesting picks where you're like, hey, if this happened, it will raise your eyebrow in the good or bad way?
Yeah, right after the Los Angeles Rams, I had Denzel Boston at pick 14 going to the Baltimore Ravens. In my opinion, I think that's an interesting pick, right? Does Lamar Jackson finally have his wide receiver one, right? Are you able to kick Zay Flowers into his role? Now, are you able to push Rashad Bateman into that wide receiver 3 role? I'm sorry. And everybody's finally properly aligned, right? Because it feels like with this offense, especially the wide receiver room, everybody's pushed up a slot, right? Like they're not playing the role that they need to play. And then there's a lot of conversation about, hey, they may not be able to sign Isaiah Likely, right? Like that probably it won't be able to happen. So you need another offensive playmaker, right? You need another guy, because Isaiah Likely became a mismatch guy because of his athleticism, but that was for the safeties and the linebackers, right? You need a guy on the outside that Lamar Jackson, who's his 50-50 ball guy, right? At the end of the day, who's the guy he throws on outside of the numbers, throws the football up to, and he goes and gets it. So I think Denzel Boston has that potential in him. And if he does that, then I think we could begin to have the conversation of, hey, Baltimore Ravens, AFC favorites again. I don't think they'll come into this year as AFC favorites because I think throughout the season, people say that this roster had enough holes. One of those holes is the wide receiver room. And it's been like that for years. And as great as the Baltimore Ravens have been as far as drafting, as far as roster construction, the wide receiver position has been very tricky for them to try to figure out who they want to fill that role.
No, 100%. It's been an issue since Lamar has been drafted, right? Like, and I think I said this when we did our big board. Like, Joe Flacco didn't get over the hump until you went and acquired Anquan Bolden and got him that guy that could just make those big boy grown man contested catches and make the plays that you needed him to make.
You had an emergence by Jacoby Jones, right? Like, remember that? Like, so,
but it allowed, like to your point, it allowed guys to play their role. Jacoby Jones could be your yak guy and your deep threat that took the top off the defense. He could flip the field position as a kick and punt returner as well. Jacoby Jones was everything. You know what I mean? Like, he could do all these different things, man, and was just one of the more underrated receivers that we've seen in the league in terms of impact. So, yeah, I always looked at John Harbaugh, and I was like, why don't you knew you had the recipe for Flacco. Why don't you go do the same thing? You know what I mean? When DeAndre Hopkins was available a couple years ago, you should have went and aggressively got him. So getting the Denzel Boston. Now, I will say there've been not so much rumors, but people trying to piece things together. And like, you look at the AJ Brown situation with the Eagles. There's been a lot of talk about, hey, I think Derrick Henry, made a comment about, trying to get him to Baltimore if he is traded from Philadelphia. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'll be all for that. If he's on the outs from Philly, yeah, I think he would pair very well with Zay and Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews. And we know he's a guy that could command double teams and everything like that. Yeah, I think that would be a really good fit. And honestly, then it would lessen the need at 14. You can go get a Vega Ione at the interior offensive lineman or something like that, right? Yep. So I think, the Ravens are in a we will see how aggressive Jesse Minter is. Like, you're in a very precarious situation right now, trying to make sure that you build this team up for Lamar Jackson so you can make that run. Keith, one interesting pick, and I didn't see it at first. I should have seen it so I could put it in my love. Mekhi Lemon at 27 to the San Francisco 49ers. Man, if this isn't a Kyle Shanahan wide receiver, I don't know what is. Like, the guy that's going to run those crossing routes, those in-breaking routes, the yak ability, tough, physical. Hey, the quick game is an extension of the run game. Like, Mekhi Lemon will fit this offense like a glove. And I believe that he would become, honestly, their number one wide receiver. Like Ricky Pearsall got to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he can absolutely be their number one wide receiver. He'll be the most skilled out of the two because Ricky can play on the outside in the slot. He's a great route runner, but he's got that deep speed and everything else to take the top off. He could do everything, but he just can't stay healthy. Mekhi Lemon will come in and, again, talking about Brock Purdy, who likes guys who can win one-on-one and get open quickly and win against man coverage and zone. And, like, if you're throwing zones at the Niners, especially Chris McCaffrey in the backfield, Mekhi Lemon might walk out of some games, especially with no George Kittle. There might be some games he walk out of that bad boy as a rookie with 12 catches. You know what I mean? 15 targets, 12 catches for the 49ers. So, Keith, this was an interesting one that I love, simply because it's such a good fit, right? And that's why Rams fans are like, man, I want Mekhi Lemon with Puka Nacua and everything. I'm like, I hear you. I don't like that because it's a redundant skill set. You know what I mean? How many times we've been on this pod, and my slogan, Keith, I want to build my wide receiver core like a basketball team. If I got two slashers, I need somebody to shoot the three. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. Trust me, guys. Not having good shooters will hurt you in the postseason. All right. Like, I'm just letting you know right now, I'm worried about the NBA postseason because we can't shoot the rock. So it's just a simple fact of, yeah, you could have guys that do the same thing. Like, we got Ron Hall and Nassar Thompson. Those are the same skill set. Who's spacing the floor for Cade? Nobody. And that's a problem. So, like, I don't really like pairing them with Puka because I want to get Puka somebody that can play on the outside and take the top off the defense, free him up, open him up. I don't like they do almost the same thing and play a similar style. I'd rather get somebody else if I'm the Rams. For the Niners, this is a home run. If I'm Brock Purdy, I call up Kyle Shanahan, like, hey, thank you. Like, thank you. I'm just happy for it. You know what I mean? Whatever y'all need from me, I'm trying to get back to the Super Bowl. And I think that's one of those picks where we will look at it and be like, man, this is the offensive rookie of the year. Mekhi Lemon with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I'm going to go this real quick, DP. I'm going to go pick 21. I'm going to go Texas A&M wide receiver KC Concepcion to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I talked about it, right? If you're trying to get Aaron Rodgers back, you better be all in on upgrading this wide receiver room. We've seen it, right? And the fans have been complaining about Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin isn't there anymore, right? And I hope the issue has finally showed itself. Y'all got exactly what y'all got out of this roster because this is the roster that was constructed, meaning that if you lost in the first round of the playoffs every single year, that's the talent y'all had on this roster. You've seen this wide receiver room. It was DK Metcalf or bust, right? It just wasn't working for various different reasons. So I think if you're going to bring Aaron Rodgers back, if you don't go all in on the wide receiver room, then you're going to get the same result again. Right? It doesn't matter who the head coach is. You're going to get the same result again. You got exactly what you're supposed to get out of this roster. Some years you probably got more, to be completely honest.
I want to add to that, Keith. I want to let you finish. I want to add to that. You talk about adding Casey Concepcion. The head coach Mike McCarthy, when him and Aaron Rodgers were in Green Bay, they drafted Randall Cobb, and Randall Cobb became one of the favorite weapons of Aaron Rodgers to the point where he went to the where did he go first? Did he go to the Jets? And I think he made the Jets sign up. Everywhere he's gone while Randall Cobb was active, he wanted Randall Cobb on the roster. And that's simple because of the fact of how easy it was to get him the football. And Casey Concepcion can kind of fill that type of role with Mike McCarthy as a new head coach.
DP, I actually don't even mind that as a comp, to be honest with you, for KC Concepcion. And I think Randall Cobb was a first round pick, I believe, coming out of Kentucky. But I look at that and it's an easy situation for KC Concepcion. Not to say easy, right? Because playing in the NFL is difficult, but it's a favorable situation because he comes in and he doesn't have to just be the big body X, right? He can play his true role as Z, but he can be a very complimentary piece. The best tandem that I could think of when you talk about how they complement each other. Remember Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders had
that's actually my comp from Casey.
Oh, for real?
That's my comp for him.
I think about that situation, right? Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, where they both played at a very high level and they were so complimentary of each other, right? Absolutely. That they just didn't bump into each other. Like, hey, you do you, I'm gonna do me. This is how this offense is going to work best. So I look at it like that, to where you draft Casey Concepcion, he plays his role, and then you allow DK Metcalf to play his role, and then now fill in with the ancillary pieces, figure out what Calvin Austin is going to be, what Roman Wilson is going to be, but you'll have a better wide receiver room forward. But DP, let's do this, man. We talk favorite picks, we talk most interesting picks. Let's do this, man. Let's talk about a couple underrated picks, right? A couple underrated prospect team matchups that nobody's probably going to discuss, but has the opportunity to get explosive results. Let's talk about that coming up next.
As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines. And dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. And that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients right to your front door. With easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Because meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches, and it saves you time and money. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life, but must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open? When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is the job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you, our everydayers. The most underrated picks from your mock draft, Keith. I'm going to go back up, man, into the top 10. And it's pick 10. Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia, going to the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think that's they would be diving back into that Georgia pool because they went and got Amarius Mims a couple years ago and everything. The tackles right now is Amarius Mims, who plays right tackle. Then you have Orlando Brown Jr., who plays the left tackle. And the Browns he'll be 30 in May. So he'll be, hitting that kind of benchmark in terms of age. And that's a situation where you allow those guys to compete. If it's close, maybe you let Monroe Freeling take the start. And I think they drafted Dylan Fairchild last year, who I think is their left guard. They had brought in Dalton Rising to play right guard. Got Ted Karras, I believe, at center. Maybe Orlando Brown Jr. could play one of the interior offensive line spots and let Monroe Freeling become you have two big athletic bookend tackles to help protect Joe Burrow. And I know Cincinnati Bengals fans are like, man, we need defense too and everything, but 100% be able to protect Joe Burrow, but also open up some running lanes, more running lanes for Chase Brown in that run game, and just be more balanced, man. And I think that's a very underrated, more sleeper pick that people will kind of kind of scan by and be like, oh, okay, and not realize that, man, this could be one of those like cornerstone offensive lineman picks for the next 10 to 15 years with Monroe Freeling and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, no, and I made that pick, DP, because I was looking at it from the perspective of how do you keep Joe Burrow upright, right? And the Cincinnati Bengals, they had an attempt at reshuffling his offensive line, but there's a difference between reshuffling his offensive line and upgrading it, right? And I think when you add in a talent like Monroe Freeling, then you can now reshuffle because you're reshuffling with even more talent amongst the front. And I mean, listen, the story has become stale now, right? Like Joe Burrow not being able to stay healthy. Like the Bengals know, like, listen, if Joe Burrow is not healthy, there's only but so far we're going, right? And if he's injured again, then I think you have huge problems on your hands because I'm not completely sure Joe Burrow wants to come back, right? I'm not completely sure that you're going to have the same head coach again, right? Like all of these different, like this feels like the year where if the Bengals don't make the playoffs, if Joe Burrow doesn't stay healthy, this is going to get blown up, right? Like we've seen this for, I mean, now we're going on 6 years, right? This version of the Bengals under Joe Burrow, 6-7 years. So if it doesn't work this time around, DP, I could very well see this entire thing.
And Orlando Brown is on like the last year of his contract. So like that's your left tackle who's hitting the age of 30. Like you might be able to, like if you draft the Monroe Freeling, you might be able to flip him for a day 2 pick for the 2027 NFL draft, right? You know what I mean? A team that needs a left tackle situation. Like what if the Will Campbell situation isn't working for the Patriots? And like, you know what? We're gonna kick, talking about the arm length and everything else. What if we kick Will down to the guard and we trade a 3rd round pick for 2027? You know what I'm saying? And go get Orlando Brown, let him start at left tackle. Maybe they have the money they want to pay him that long-term extension. But you are the Bengals, money hasn't really been in your favor. You got a lot of money wrapped into 3 offensive weapons, and that's your quarterback and his 2 receivers. I don't think you got the bread to be able to kick out another top dollar contract to an offensive lineman. So be able to reset your cap too. I think it's a lot of benefits to making that pick.
Yep, I agree. I'm gonna look at this too. I'm gonna go with pick 19, and I'm gonna go Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq to the Carolina Panthers. I've probably done this one 3 or 4 times. I really like this one. And to be completely honest, DP, Kenyon Sadiq is so my draft, obviously, there's a variation of we're predicting what we think will happen based off of how we evaluate the players, right? So part of this prediction base. Kenyon Sadiq coming in at pick 19 to the Panthers. I love the situation, and I love it for Bryce because Bryce Young has shown that if you get me more talent, I can be a better quarterback, right? And I need these big-bodied wide receivers. I need some guys with some good athleticism, and Kenyon Sadiq is one of those guys, right? Like he can be a difference maker, in my opinion, at the tight end position. Also, I feel like this is really good value because he comes in at pick 19 for me. He's probably going to be a top 10 prospect for me, right? Just overall in this draft class. And I'll say this, DP, for every general manager out there, for every owner out there, Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl now feels as though, and you've drafted a top 10 pick over the past 5 years, you have a top 10 pick playing for you, you should be looking yourself in the mirror, right? Every morning should be mirrors because you'd be like, what could I do better? What should I do better? What could I have done better, right? Because Sam Darnold going from where he went to where he is now, nobody would have predicted that Sam Darnold ever hosted hoisted a Super Bowl Lombardi trophy as the starting quarterback, maybe the backup, or maybe the third string, or maybe as a coach, or maybe as an assistant, right? Something,
Right.
right? We never would have picked him as a starting quarterback to hoist an Lombardi trophy. So I think those teams who have quarterbacks that maybe you believe that they're on the fringe, right? Of good superstar can be starting quarterback for us. Yeah, you got to invest in them. Point blank, period. Right? When you get those quarterbacks, you got to invest in them. So that's why I
No,
like
I'm
that
with you on that.
situation.
No, I like that one. I saw that one. That one piqued my interest as well, because that's a spot they're missing on their roster. I think,
Mhm.
I like Mitchell Evans. I think he'd be a good, kind of that power tight end, great run blocker. And then you add Kenyon Sadiq, and Dave Canales has shown, I want to run the football. I want to be balanced. And he put the best version of Bryce we've seen is like when you take hey, we're not putting that cape on you. You're going to manage the game. We're going to let you make timely throws. We're going to run the football, play good defense, and we're going to be physical. And adding a Kenyon Sadiq, who's arguably the best blocking tight end in the class, who comes in as a ready-made NFL
Oh,
blocker.
he's a hell of a run blocker.
Like you bring that skill set to your offense.
He's an offensive tackle light.
Like legit, right? So then you pair it with Mitchell Evans because the Jatavian Sanders thing hasn't worked out, and plus he's battled multiple injuries. He wasn't a great blocker coming out. Kenyon Sadiq, I think, is a better route runner, but definitely a better athlete than him coming out. So, like for that, like now you get that weapon in the middle of the field, up the seams, off the play action, where Bryce could loft that ball up and let him go make plays on it, right? Like you need to consistently add that around them. Now, like they do need edge and linebacker, but getting Kenyon Sadiq at 19, I think that is great value for you. And at the end of the day, like I think Dave Canales will be able to really unlock this young man's game. Teams are going to look at Tet and be like, all right, we can't let you go off, right? Because Bryce trusts you. Jalen Coker is your wide receiver too. I personally feel like they should trade Xavier Legette. I never really liked that pairing of Xavier Legette, Bryce, and Canales in the first place. Never really liked him going to Carolina. So trade him off somewhere and let's see if he go flourish somewhere else. But getting an explosive talent, if you're not going to get an explosive wide receiver, you got to get an explosive tight end, because that's the one thing that they truly are missing is that explosiveness to take the top off the defense. And because I don't, Terrell McMillan is more of a smooth back shoulder fade guy. Like he can win with the route running and stuff to get vertical. Jalen Coker's a big power guy. Like if you press him, he's going to fight through the hands and then he can stack you and get vertical himself. But in terms of like actual explosiveness, no, neither one of those guys have that. And it's like adding Kenyon Sadiq, who brings that immediately, especially to the tight end spot. Yeah, no, that would be a really good fit. And I think that will allow Bryce, because at the end of the day, I always say this, as an organization, you got to put weapons around these quarterbacks. So if it don't work and they don't improve, you're not on the hook, right? Like the GM, the coach, you can say it's not my fault. We did everything we could. We drafted 3 wide receivers. We drafted a tight end in round 1. Like if it just doesn't work out, it don't work out. But a lot of times we see the NFL, they're like, hey, sink or swim, and not give you the weapons to see if you are going to work out. So yeah, Carolina, if they wanted to go offensive weapon again, especially tight end, go right ahead. It makes a lot of sense to do so.
Yep, I agree with DP. That wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, we will be previewing what defensive line, edge, those prospects you need to watch when they take the field in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.